found Why We Are Christians. My name is Kent Philpott, and this is a conversational interview. Why We Are Christians. We're going to be talking to Curtis Roberts. Hiya, Curtis.
Hi, Pastor Kent.
It's so good to have you here.
Thank you.
After all these years, we've known each other about 20 years now, or maybe more.
Yeah, right around 20.
But right about 20.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
Culver City, Baldwin Hills Hospital.
That's in Southern California.
Yes.
Down around where Disneyland
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you tell me something about your parents at all?
I just know that they got together when they were young, and they had 4 children. And
You're the youngest of 4.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So tell me what was like growing up.
It was pretty unsettling. I was never felt secure or safe. I struggled with knowing where food was. I was not wanted.
You said you weren't wanted?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you get that sense from both your parents?
I got that. Yes, I got that sense from both parents, but more than the sense, it was their actions that spoke. Not only did each one leave the house at a certain time, I mean when they separated, but they shipped me around. They just didn't want me in the home. Yeah.
That sort of impacted you, didn't it, growing up?
Very much so.
Did it? Well, where'd you go to school?
Because of the trauma that I've suffered, I don't remember any junior high. I don't remember any grade school or grammar school. The best memory I remember high school.
Where'd you go to high school? Where was it?
Redwood City, California.
Redwood City?
Yeah, and the high school is called Sequoia High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports in high school?
I tried. I don't think I was good enough.
What sports did you try?
I tried basketball. Of course, I'm a little short for that at 5'6.5".
Yeah.
But I tried baseball. I just didn't mature well, and I just think that sports. My life was really chaotic around that time. Sports was not in my, makeup. It just wasn't for me to do at that time.
Did you have friends in high school?
I did. I had some. I can't remember all their names, but I remember one that was we were like best friends. I remember him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything you particularly liked to study in high school that you kind of liked?
Well, I loved to study. I thought I was going to be really good at math, but that didn't work out. But I really loved English, only because I love to read. But I wasn't very good at it. I was a very weak reader. I always had to be put in the left behind classes.
The remedial.
Is that what they call it?
Use that word, remedial?
I didn't know that word.
Okay. That's maybe good, Curtis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you are in high school, not exactly having a lot of fun. Did you date girls?
I didn't date until probably my last month or 2 of my senior year.
Really?
Yeah.
Not too far different from myself.
Oh.
Yeah, high school for me was pretty close to hell.
Wow.
Northern Los Angeles. Any other significant memories that you have about your high school years, your teenage years?
I guess one memory that has played out in my life, and it still affects me today at 57, is the nickname that they had given me as a child.
A nickname?
Yeah.
Why?
A nickname. When I tell you the nickname, you'll understand the why. But the nickname, they say that names will never hurt you. Well, that's a lie.
Yeah.
So the nickname they gave me as a child was Ugly.
Ugly?
Ugly.
Now here's something else. My aunt called me homely. Homely, and I didn't know what it meant, and that impacted me. But you're anything but ugly, Curtis.
Yeah, if you look through these eyes in the mirror, all I see is the ugly.
Do you really?
and I tried to destroy ugly. Very
Really?
much. Oh yeah.
You're not ugly. And I finally learned that I'm not as homely as I thought I was.
Oh,
But you know, it's those kind of things growing up that impact us
very much.
very much.
I
Yeah,
didn't know it then,
yeah.
but I know it now.
Were your parents at all religious? Did they go to church or anything like that?
No,
No.
no.
Did you know what your dad did for a living?
Yeah, he worked with some company called, I think it was called Hobart, and it had to do with something about scales and weights and measures,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay.
That was what I remember. So I don't remember anything about my mom, where she worked.
Are they living now?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
No, I haven't heard from them since the 1980s.
Okay. So you did not maintain relationship with them over the years.
I think it was the other way around, Pastor Cat.
Was it?
They didn't maintain a relationship with me.
Okay.
And when I graduated high school, I went looking for them. And I felt I deserved an answer, that you owe me an answer. Why didn't you want me? And I wanted it. And I went looking.
You did.
I did. And, matter of fact, that leads me to, and I know this is a show about Christians, but this is where God really drew me to himself, because I went looking for my earthly father, and I found my heavenly father.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you never did find him.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Tell me about that.
I walked into the work where I knew he was working in Stockton, California, and his eyes got about that big, and I was full of kind of anxiety, anger. I felt it was righteous anger. I think he felt like a cat that just got caught eating a canary, and I wanted to have a conversation with him.
What you talked about it? You talked with him then.
I did.
Do you recall the conversation, Curtis?
Parts of it.
Parts of it? What do you
Yeah.
remember?
I remember asking him why he didn't want me, and he didn't respond to that. But all he said was, "Curtis, the family's no good. Go live your life." That's what I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
Never tracked your mother down?
I did. Right after that, I went searching for my mom. Felt I wanted to confront her as well as I confronted him. Before I leave my father at that point, my father said that last I heard from him, he says, "I'm moving to Alaska, and you are not welcome to follow me."
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
he ran as far away as he could. So then I went looking for my mom. She lived somewhere in Los Angeles. I knew she lived somewhere close to my eldest sister. So I set up a meeting through my eldest sister. My mom wouldn't even let me know where she lived. We had to meet at my eldest sister's apartment. And all my mom says is, "Curtis, you're living in the past." I said, "Well, I want answers." She wouldn't give them.
Sounds like two very troubled people.
And they created a troubled person.
And they created a troubled person. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into what all that developed into, Curtis. They were not Christians, for sure. You in touch with one of your sisters?
No, I'm in touch with nobody in my immediate family.
Okay, no,
nobody.
That's just all gone.
That was back in the 1980s.
What did you do after high school?
Well, let's see. I went looking for my mom or my dad, then my mom, and then after that, a really short stay in the Navy. I tried to join the Navy, and that didn't work out. I wasn't good at following orders. So they kicked me out. Then I just kind of went to work. I went to work, and that's when I met my first wife. I was working at a Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box?
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been the early days of Jack in the Box.
Oh, yeah. That was when they still had the the clown and all that stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Did you have any kind of idea of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Other than be a baseball player, no. I had no idea.
Okay. So you kind of entertained those ideas of being a professional athlete?
You know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you were a very good athlete and a very good baseball player. So you're wearing that Jack in the Box. Pick up the story a little bit
Anyway,
after that.
my boss at the Jack in the Box, she hated me. She just did not like me, but she ended up marrying me.
Oh, you married your boss?
Yeah. Hey, you know, I had to win her over somehow. So yeah, I mean, it started out. She was engaged to another guy, and then I don't know, it was a mess, and it ended just as ugly, you know. So, matter of fact, it was her brother who introduced me to drugs for the very first time.
Really?
Right. And she even warned me. She said, "Stay away from my brother. He's no good."
So, okay, so you married this lady. She had a brother. What was his name?
His name was John.
John? What was her name?
Her name was Shelley.
Shelley?
Yeah.
So John and Shelley, and so you talked to John, warned against him. You got introduced to Christ through...
I got introduced to Christ through when I went looking for my father. That I met a girl in that area in Stockton, and she invited me to church.
Okay.
And I wanted to go to church just because I wanted to please the girl. I didn't care about the church.
Right.
I mean, I was just keeping it real. And while I'm sitting there in the church, it's called Quail Lake Baptist Church in Stockton, California. While I'm sitting there in the church, next thing you know, I'm at the altar, and I don't even know how I got there. And I'm just at the altar crying before the Lord and saying, God, you know, if you could do anything with this life.
How old were you at that time?
That was in 1980. So I was probably, I was born in 62. So, 18?
You were 18 years old?
Yeah, 18 years old.
Okay. Do you believe you were converted at that point?
Wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly.
And the way I know that is because the enemy is not going to attack his own. Well, as soon as I gave my life to Christ, well, it was a whole different thing.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit, flesh that out a little bit, Curtis.
Well, what I mean by that is, you know, I mean, here I got introduced to drugs, and, you know, that the way that played out. And
So after you became a Christian, you got involved in the drugs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I mean is that I believe that the enemy is going to use any means possible to draw a believer away from God, which he believes he can. I believe they're secure. Anyway, I'm not going to get into no theological debate about that.
No, I'm in agreement with you. I'm in agreement. Yeah, the Christian is a target.
Very much so.
Yes.
And so as soon as I gave my life to Christ, it was one series after another. And then that's when I got into the drug use. Right after that, I put myself in a position where in the enemy's playground that I was arrested for buying drugs, guilty as charged, $20 worth. And while I'm sitting there in the jail after being arrested for buying this drugs, that now they charged me with 2 counts of armed robbery, and neither I did.
But you got charged with 2 counts of armed robbery.
Right. So neither I did. So, but when you're in the enemy's playground, now you're playing by his rules. And, you know, God doesn't want that for us, but sometimes he allows us to learn some tough lessons. So they took me to court on the first count. They dismissed it. They said,
How old are you now at this point?
This is probably around 1980, probably about 89.
89.
1989.
Okay.
And so 1989, 62.
And you're married
62,
to Shelley.
Yes, we're married. So 1989, you know, I get arrested for this. I'm sitting there, 2 counts of armed robbery. They take me to the first count. They dismiss it. They say, this isn't the guy. So then they come to the second count. They take me to another court. And the guy says, you know, if he was 5'9" and 160 pounds and brown hair and brown eyes and he had a full mustache, yeah, that'd be him. And when I'm on drugs, I was like 117 pounds. You know,
What
soaking
kind of
wet.
drugs were you on?
Only one, cocaine. That's all. I went straight from doing nothing to cocaine. Yeah.
So, on the second count,
So on the second count, they bound it over for jury, and it was a hung jury. The judge denied a hung jury. He says, "I'm not going to allow that in my courtroom. You go back and make a decision." 3 days later, they came back, found me guilty. And if I may leap forward 3 decades, if I may, briefly, that the prosecutor in that case has now written a letter, which my attorney today has, that says that he withheld evidence, which is called a Brady violation. He withheld evidence knowing I was innocent, and he withheld evidence. And here he is decades later. He knew I went to prison for, I don't know if you want to let that out. He knew I went to prison for the 50 years because of initially started with him. And he held that within inside him, and he had felt responsible. And he wrote a letter to other prosecutors. He said, "Don't ever do this, because while you may send him to prison, it will never leave you." And it was a powerful letter.
wow, Curtis.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you did some time then.
5 years.
You did 5 years.
Yeah,
Where at?
Tehachapi prison.
Tehachapi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And can you talk about that experience while you were there? What was all that like?
It was, I'd never been incarcerated. I'd never been to prison, and prison has its own set of unique rules. None are anything equal to what you experience out here in the streets. I was schooled very fast.
You were what?
Schooled.
Schooled very quickly, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get involved? Were the gangs all, everybody divided up into gangs?
Yes.
They were?
Yes. Did I get involved? No.
You stayed out of it.
Yes.
Were you going to the chapel?
I was.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
That was your gang, the chapel gang.
That's right. Matter of fact, I became the chaplain's clerk at the prison.
Yeah.
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 It was a really nice job.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a Christian through all this period.
Through it all.
Yeah.
Through it all. Through it all.
Yeah.
That's one thing about God. He'll love you through the good and the bad. He really will.
Yeah.
And I'm a testimony of that.
Yeah. Anything that you remember particularly about that experience at Tehachapi?
That was, I have a strong sense of right and wrong inside of me. And I don't know where that came from. I believe the Holy Spirit gave me that gift. And I learned in prison that it's not about right or wrong. The guards just do not give a damn about what's gone on to you. They don't want to know. You just go fend for yourself. They don't care if you've been raped, sexually violated, innocent. They don't care nothing. You're a convicted felon. Get out of my face.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was shocking.
Shocking.
Shocking for me. So.
And then after the growing up you had, pretty much rejected and abandoned by your parents, and now you get it from the state.
Yeah.
How did you maintain balance? How did you maintain any kind of mental health,
Well,
Curtis?
I did what my dad did. Sometimes we think that we don't learn from our parents, but I think we do. And one trait my dad taught me, which he handed down to my oldest sister and to me, I don't know about my other two siblings, but we both attempted suicide.
Suicide? You attempted suicide in Tehachapi?
Many times.
Huh?
Many times.
Many times. Many times.
My sister did out there on the streets. My dad did. One memory I have of my dad when I was a child, he attempted suicide. So we just thought that was the answer.
How did you try to kill yourself in prison?
Hanging,
Hanging?
yeah.
And it didn't work, obviously.
I'm not very good at that.
So one of your strong suits.
I'm just not very good at it. I don't know.
Wow.
I didn't want to die. I wanted the pain to stop.
You wanted the pain to stop.
Yeah. I never wanted to die, but I didn't know any other way to stop the pain. I didn't have the drugs. The drugs was what I used to stop the pain, and it worked. And I didn't have drugs in there. You either get drugs in prison through two ways, or three. You become friends with the guards, or you sell your body, or you have money. And I wasn't willing to do either of those. So I had no drugs. I had no way to stop the pain. I couldn't escape it. It was just me and God.
So if you're friends with the guard and you can find a way to get money to his house, he's going to bring in drugs for you. I know how it works. I spent 36 years at San Quentin Prison as a volunteer, as you know well. That's where we met, at San Quentin. So I know about this stuff a little bit too much. I got kicked out of the prison because of all of that stuff for 5 years. So you got out of Tehachapi.
Yeah.
What did Shelley do? Is she still around?
She was still with me. My wife was still with me, and I thought that. One thing about I didn't get to mention is that I got my daughter was born January 26th of 1989. The crime that I was convicted of happened on Easter Sunday of 1989. I was arrested 8 days after that, and so her early years, I was incarcerated. So I missed her life. My wife did stay by me. I was able to see my daughter through those 4.5, 5 years I was incarcerated. And I thought I was going to go home to a happily ever after story. And it was far from.
What happened?
My own family, who knew I was with them on Easter Sunday, so they knew I didn't commit it. But even they treated me like a convicted felon. My name wouldn't be on the bank account. My name wouldn't be on the savings account. My name wouldn't be on the vehicles. My name wasn't on the house. My name wasn't on anything. I was not trusted in my own home. And society treated me like a convicted felon. They didn't care.
Yeah. So, pick up the story, Curtis. What happened following all that? When you went back home?
I went home. At this time, we're living in Big Bear Lake, California. We inherited a home up there. It was within 30 days of my release that I went back to using drugs.
Cocaine.
Yeah. I met up with her brother again, and he started giving me my drugs.
Did he get you started in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's John.
Yeah, that's John.
Good old John got you started on cocaine.
Yeah, and it's funny because he never did a day of time. So anyway, I get out, I get back to drugs, but I stop. I don't keep using. I get back to working. I'm doing good up there in Big Bear Lake. My in-laws live up there too. We're all, me and my wife, our daughter, our beautiful daughter. Her name is Christiana. All of us, we believe it's going to be a happily ever after. And there was two things that I now look back on that were very instrumental of my going back into drug use. And they were so subtle. And that's how the enemy works. They were so subtle that I did not even realize it. One was my grandfather died.
Your grandfather died?
Yeah.
On your father's or mother's side?
Neither, on my wife's side.
Oh, on your wife's side?
Yeah, but I don't know my grandparents on.
Okay, so your wife's grandfather died.
Yeah. So I was very close to him. So when he passed, I didn't know it, but it gave me, it left me kind of vulnerable. He kind of protected me from the in-laws because that's where we inherited our house from, and that's where all the money was. And so the in-laws had to treat me good because he liked me. So it was kind of a weird dynamic. So anyway, when he died, it really changed things. And then right after that, my in-laws moved away from Big Bear Lake. They moved back down to Los Angeles County, Canoga Park. And so those two incidents back to back left me in a very vulnerable place.
So you're basically alone again now, with a lot of the support people are gone.
Yes.
And there you are in
There I am.
Big Bear.
Yeah. And I went back to using drugs, and next thing you know, the night in question where I walked into a liquor store and high on drugs, no weapon. I snatched two $20 bills out the cash register. I wanted more drugs. I didn't care. And I was using my in-laws' vacant cabin in Big Bear Lake to get high in. I got caught, got arrested, pled guilty to robbery, burglary, and next thing I know, I'm in prison for 50 years to life, the rest of my life.
The 3-strike law
Came into effect.
and it was 50 to life?
50 to life.
50 to life. Curtis, okay, we're just about the end of our first program, and we're going to get into the rest of the story. You got a great story. I really appreciate you coming down, Curtis. Living up in Napa now.
Yeah.
28 years behind bars.
29.
29.
Let's keep the math right, 'cause I know I did them.
And here you are. So we're going to pick up, Curtis, the rest of the story in the next program. So you're going to have to be catching the next program with Curtis Roberts, Part 2. What happened next? You'll be surprised. So long.